From Broken Hill, this is Paul Murray Live, Our Town.
G'day and welcome to Broken Hill, the capital of the Outback, one of the great regional cities of Australia. Lovely to see you, everyone. Glad you're here with us here at the Broken Hill pub. Now, this city is one that is a historic one. It's one that we're going to tell you the story of over the next hour or so. But the scenery in and of itself is breathtaking. If your bucket list is, one day I'll get to Broken Hill, bugger that, change it, get here and get here now. Winter is an amazing time to be here, but there's all sorts of festivals and fun things wherever you poke it at the calendar. But once you travel, 15 minutes out of town, let it alone an hour, 2 hours, whichever way you go, well, the greatest driving you can ever do in Australia. That's not me going through the puddles, but I have the mud to prove it on the rental car. Don't worry, work is paying. We're going to go not too far from here to Silverton as well, which is a beautiful city, not too far outside of here. And you can't take a bad photo. Now, while I am in this photo, look around the photo, because you can't take a bad one. You pull over by the side of the road, you grab an iPhone, you take a great shot, you get the beautiful panoramas. It is a phenomenal feeling when you've never been here before, and this is my first time here, which is every time you go over a hill, wow, another one, wow, wow, and just endless beautiful things to have a look at. It is tremendous. In fact, even once you start to make your way out a little further into some of the national parks, well, you never know what you're going to see. I shot this on my iPhone a couple of hours before the show today. There's old mate Emu just turning up saying g'day. You get the opportunity at any time. My kid's particularly excited about all of that. Well, that's been our weekend, but it's been a weekend of not extreme weather, but Australian weather, where you can have beautiful, crisp days here in Broken Hill, but then the snow has been falling pretty hard, and kids enjoying every part of that around the snowfields, be they in Victoria or in New South Wales. Vivid is about to come to an end, and if you've never been to Sydney for that, you've got to go and check that out as well, this incredible light show. I do find it slightly ironic that Sydney turns off their lights for 1 hour because of global warming on Earth Hour, and then brings in extra lights for a month for Vivid. But okay, apparently it'll all work out because Clover's in charge. Or maybe in Ipswich, you're at the Ipswich Cup, where plenty of people were and enjoying the many regional horse racing events. Lovely new couple there, wherever they are. And the lovely good people of River 949 and my mate Drew running that radio station, keeping people nice and happy. Now, of course, it is a tragic time for many, and can you believe it, 2 weeks ago there were 10 families who just had kids that were looking forward to a wedding. 1 week ago, those 10 lives were lost in a bus crash, and who would have thought a fortnight ago that a fortnight later the funerals would have begun, including lots of memorials that took place at local AFL clubs, but also there was a kid from Sydney who was somebody who loved the bush but also loved the water as well, and there was memorials for him this weekend as well. And imagine what his dad's going through this weekend.
Huddling out, holding hands, spreading petals, sharing their grief.
I never thought I'd be sitting in a circle.
Zach Bray's father, Adam, and mother, Jackie, in a circle of love at North Curl, where father and son served together.
He would be deeply, deeply moved, and probably with his modesty. We're not talking about a kid with an ego. He would be surprised and proud.
He learnt to fly with his dad, and alas, his dad will now be alone, not being able to celebrate the life of that young bloke. In Queensland, there was a big rally in and around Townsville because those people have had enough of youth crime. We've, of course, brought you shows from places all over Queensland, particularly, about youth crime, which people in the politicians in the major cities don't seem to see as urgent, but the people who actually live in places like Toowoomba, or obviously places like Townsville, know that this thing is out of control, and hundreds of people decided to get together on a Saturday to try to send a message back to Brisbane, for goodness sake, enough. Do something. Don't just announce money, don't just announce some new plan that won't go anywhere. Actually get off your backside and do something. Now, one of the problems that I don't understand about part of the politics of Townsville is that the youth crime problem's been there for a while, but for some reason they keep re-electing 3 of the 4 state seats local Labor. I don't care who else is on the ballot, but maybe change your local MP to send a message. The Queensland government doesn't have a supermajority. It's only up by a couple. And if they lose a couple around Townsville, that would be a good thing. Meantime, for some, they were just trying to find somewhere to live. Can you believe it? The rental queues that we have seen for a long time in major cities as people are trying to find that place to rent, not even own, as they're maybe not even saving to earn, but just have somewhere to live. Well, those rental lines are getting longer. And unbelievably, there was an incredible story in the Herald Sun this weekend about people who are being charged up to $300 for a single room in somebody else's house. This, of course, resulted in queues. Apparently, there was more than 100 people looking for a room in someone else's house. And all of it's going to get worse. Why? Because our population will continue to grow. The Ponzi scheme, that is the federal budget, which put simply means tip more people into it and somehow more tax will fall out. The only problem is if you're in Victoria, the 000 system doesn't work. 33 people died because that 000 system didn't work. The backup system, I'm not joking, are people writing on post-it notes and handing it to each other. This is in Danistan in 2023, let alone crowded schools in New South Wales, Queensland or anywhere else. Yet more people are going to be coming. Now, the chance of more economic activity may well save us from a recession. Recession, of course, is 2 consecutive quarters, 6 months of the economy going backwards. The expectation is that right now we're in the middle of at least a retail recession, and that'll probably go for 3 to 4 months. Whether we get to the full 6 months or not, who knows? But guess what happens when there are even more people that you tip into the country? And the plan of the Albanese government, the greatest government of all time, just ask them or their supporters or the media or the pollsters, is that we're going to get the best part of 900,000 extra people coming into the country in a country that already has people queuing around the block for a 1-bedroom in somebody else's house in Melbourne. Well, guess what's going to happen if you end up with even more people? Apparently, interest rates are going to increase because that's something that everyone paying off a house, be it here in Broken Hill or watching us in the big cities or anywhere else around the country, thanks to Sky News Regional, Foxtel or Flash, will just be so happy about hearing. So the question is, we've got to start building more. Now, we know there are local councils who all commit to the idea of greater housing, just not in their backyard. Not to mention, because we don't make anything in Australia anymore, so much of this stuff that is in these new homes has to be brought in from the rest of the country, from the rest of the world, and all of that adds to costs. But in amongst all of the other palaver which the federal politicians have been talking about, which is mostly themselves, surprise, surprise, for the past couple of weeks, Peter Dutton was addressing a major meeting of the Liberal Party in Sydney this weekend, and he was talking front and centre about more housing for more people.
So a priority for a coalition government will be resurrecting our building industry, getting more homes constructed and investing in congestion-busting infrastructure. Coalition government I lead will allow first home buyers and women separated later in life to access their super to buy their first home. In contrast, Labor's home buying scheme would see Australians rely on taxpayers' money to purchase their own home. Perversely, the government would then have equity in that home. That's not liberating, it's modern collectivism.
While Peter Dutton was talking about you or your family being able to buy a house for themselves or the next generation, guess what Albo and the greatest Premier of Victoria, Daniel Andrews, has had to say? Well, they're going to spend more of your money to buy other people homes. Now, I don't begrudge any extra money being spent, particularly on social housing, public housing as it used to be called, but they've decided to find $2 billion down the back of the couch. This $2 billion is a one-off payment. It'll be thrown around the different states, but it will go on a per capita basis, which means about half of it will end up in New South Wales and in Victoria. Now, remember, 90% of people who come to the country end up staying in Sydney and Melbourne, the same places that are already chockers. So, apart from potentially building more social housing stock, Daniel Andrews, who of course is the preview of where Albo wants to take the country, which is put simply, you either work for the government, if you have a private business, you service the government, or if you're a citizen, you are reliant on the government. He's now talking about buying the house next door to you for social housing.
Bringing forward our already considerable maintenance program so we can get more houses up to code and get tenants in them faster than we otherwise would. Building brand new houses, and we don't rule out some spot purchasing. If there's houses out there that represent good value for Victorian taxpayers and we can snap them up quickly, then of course you would do that.
Here's an idea. The couple of $100 million that his government spent on one of those quarantine white elephants at the height of COVID in order to annoy the federal government is currently closed, sitting empty. The same for the facility that the Palaszczuk government built in Queensland. Here's an idea. Why not open it up for people who are homeless in Melbourne or Brisbane, or make that the affordable housing for people to be able to live in? Those are literally hundreds of millions of dollars worth of monuments to politics. Nothing to do with dealing with COVID. And there's some new numbers about that I'll get to in a moment or two's time. Instead, it is a waste of money. Speaking of, in Victoria, they're going to spend the best part of, count them, $3 billion hosting the next Commonwealth Games. Now, the Commonwealth Games, even though it's awesome to see Australia beat everyone at everything, including the Australians who come second and third, no one wants to host them. The only reason that Australia is getting it again is not because Melbourne is going to be hosting the Commonwealth Games, but regional Victoria is going to be hosting the Games. So they're going to spend a couple of $1 billion on velodromes that Ballarat doesn't need, at the same time as they are putting power lines over the people of regional Victoria for the renewable energy projects to go back into Melbourne. They will not be compensated for anything that happens underneath the lines. They'll only be compensated for $10,000 for where the actual sticks of the towers touch the ground, nothing else. Now, as you know, hacking is the way that the Third World War is being waged without many people noticing, but notice we must. Believe it or not, there was another example of this hacking that involves Australia and involves Australia's national defence. We learned over the weekend that cyber hackers have infiltrated the computer systems of a legal firm. Why does this legal firm matter? Because they have major contracts with the Australian government, including with the Defence Department. So apparently, Russian hackers have now obtained government files apparently related to the Woomera missile testing site, the Navy's attack helicopters, and Australia's sensitive enhanced engagement in the Indo-Pacific, code China. Sources, according to this one, say that it's one of the largest in Australian history. It's also had some ransomware attached to it. There's also some intelligence information about protests that are happening inside our detention centres. Remember, this wasn't a government facility. This was a lawyer's office that does business that's intertangled with our state and federal governments. But a court injunction has been obtained by the law firm, because guess what lawyers like to do? Go to court. They have successfully been able to argue in front of a judge that we should be limited in the amount of knowledge we have about exactly what has been leaked by the Russians. Apparently, the Weekend Australian has been able to work out 45 government departments may well have had their information partially ripped off by hackers from Russia this weekend. To the Senator, David Van. Now, he is, of course, a Victorian senator. He was of the Liberal Party. He was booted out of the party room, but then has resigned from the party over the weekend, and now is taking leave from Parliament because, well, he doesn't like people talking about him. On his way out the door, how's this? I cannot remain a member of a party that tramples upon the very premise of which our justice system is predicated. This is a travesty of justice, and I reiterate that I deny any allegations against me. Here's my favourite bit. I acknowledge the hundreds of members who have shown me support in my final days as a member. Really? Hundreds of people got in touch with this bloke last week when he was on the front page of every newspaper and the lead story every single night. But of course, the Canberra Press Gallery 1 week ago weren't that interested in what Katie Gallagher knew and when about the project hit job a couple of years ago. But guess what the questions were today for Nationals and Liberal MPs? Did you know about this, Senator?
I wasn't aware of any specific allegations at all, but as always in this place, and the media would be well aware of this, there are rumours from time to time about certain individuals. So
and I
was aware of rumours,
right,
but I was not
David
aware
Van.
of any, no, and I wasn't aware of the Amanda Stoker allegations either.
But you were aware of rumours about David Van?
Well, David, there's rumours about various individuals. I've been here for 14 years. I hear a lot of rumours.
Isn't it interesting? When it's a Liberal, who knew what and when? Let me put on my Canberra Colombo hat as I walk around with a magnifying glass. Who knew what and when? When it's a Labor Party, Hogan's Heroes, no one knows anything, nothing to be seen, nothing to be said. And speaking of the colossal waste of space that is Harry and Meghan, there's a little news there, which I'm sure is holding Broken Hill just at an absolute fever pitch of knowledge here. But Harry and Meghan look like they've been sacked twice this weekend from the jobs of which who knew they had. But Harry and Meghan, of course, way back when, signed a deal with Spotify to deliver podcasts where, surprise, surprise, no matter who Meghan was interviewing, she was talking about herself. And remember, we learnt the harrowing story of what it was like for her to be a model on Deal or No Deal.
I ended up quitting the show. I was so much more than what was being objectified on the stage. I didn't like feeling forced to be all looks and little substance.
Such a harrowing story. I don't know how she's able to find a way to put up with the strain of it all. But she got tens of millions of dollars for a podcast that very few people listen to. Now, the company that was responsible for giving it to her, Spotify, have torn it up. Netflix looked like they might do the same thing. But one of the bosses at Spotify is an awesome guy called Bill Simmons, who wasn't that sad that they're not going to be at the Christmas party this year.
I wish I had been involved in the Meghan and Harry leave Spotify negotiation. The grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched with them. I got to get drunk one night and tell the story of the Zoom I had with Harry to try to help him with a podcast idea.
I cannot wait. Are you looking forward to a semi-not official royal tour of Harry and Meghan to Broken Hill? Would they be welcome? I thought so. Now, let's get to our wonderful weekend here in Broken Hill, where we've been able to do everything above ground, below ground, and so much more. In 1883, Broken Hill's story begins with a sheep farmer finding minerals for the first time here. He found them literally in what was a broken hill, hence the name of the town. But in the many, many years since and billions of dollars that have been found here, the main story is, of course, BHP. Now, that was 6 blokes who got together and they took over the mining world. But it wasn't always that easy to mine in this part of Australia. In the 1880s, 3 blokes set out from South Australia. They walked, just themselves and a wheelbarrow, for 500 kilometres looking for work. They set out with basic tools and they eventually ended up at the Daydream mine. All hand labour, and it was the start of a mine that ran until the 1980s. When times were booming, about 500 people lived here. And this is where they lived. Literally, you just got local rocks and stacked them on top of each other. Eventually, we're able to build some sort of a frame using whatever timber was around, including just cut down trees. And then hessian bags put over the top. Limestone meant that the rain would fall off. This is 5-star towards the end of the 19th century. It's an easy thing to say that the mining life is hard, but in this mine, it was 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, and 1 bath if you're lucky.
They mine the ground out first, and to support the ground you need something to hold it up. So you put your mulga in first as a props around the area, and then you start putting the dry rock in, what you see here. You're packing from ground level to roof height, and that will stabilise the ground, stops it collapsing in. That's cool. And that was done by 10-year-old boys.
Wow. Now, I'm not really claustrophobic, but this shaft is so narrow that Mark tells us the only way people were able to get down there and to do their work by hand was on hands and feet. No standing. That was as tight as it got down here. And that, remember, is 12 hours a day. When you think of this part of Australia, you don't automatically think of camels, but you should. They were here in the very earliest days of people starting to turn dirt into towns. In fact, one of the oldest mosques in the country is right here, and you can still experience what it's like to go on the back of a camel thanks to our mates at the Silverton Outback Camels. Peter and our team give you the opportunity to feel what it was like to get from A to B, camel style.
So you just jump on, Paul, and hold on. Hang on and lean back. Hold on. You ready?
Okay.
Don't scream.
Whoa. That's fantastic. That's so cool. You deserve a carrot, don't you? This is awesome. And when you spent the day underneath the ground looking at mines or high on a camel's back, it's time to look to the stars for some Outback astronomy. as the sun disappears on another wonderful day in Broken Hill. This is the reason why we had to come here. For years, a great friend of mine and television and radio royalty, Clive Robertson, has told me that Broken Hill is the place to see the stars. Well, there is a very special experience, not just looking up, but learning about what is happening above us, and it is Outback astronomy. It gets cold when the sun goes down, but it's a very comfortable way of learning what's beyond. One of the reasons Broken Hill is perfect for stargazing is because there is such little light pollution. Now, the city's only about 10 minutes back that way, but because there is virtually nothing this way, imagine the biggest cinema screen you have ever seen, made by something far bigger than us. And what about this for some accommodations? If you're lucky enough to get here, and please, this is on the bucket list, you've got to come here. Firstly, of course, your lovely way of sitting down. They provide you with a bubbly if you like, otherwise, cheese and bickies. So what can we see in the sky tonight?
The Southern Cross is directly almost overhead.
Oh,
this
wow.
is the very famous cross. The little star now, which has an Aboriginal name called Ginnan.
Oh, wow.
And you've got your Alpha Star, your Beta Star, your Gamma Star, your Delta Star, and Ginnan.
Thank you, Lily. Awesome. It is a magnificent place. You've got to come and see it. Two blokes who know it like the back of their hand is the official mayor of Broken Hill, Tom Kennedy, and the unofficial mayor, of course, of Silverton is none other than John Dinan. Lads, thank you very much for having us here. That's right. This is an incredible part of the world. I'm not breaking any news to you guys here, but while that's a lot of the different things that can happen on a tourism level, there's obviously so much happening in this city as well. You spent some time in Canberra last week. What was it like getting out of Canberra and coming back to Broken Hill?
Always great to get back. I think your news item summed it up there, all about climate change. You get back here and you're just in it, you're in the bush, you live life the way you should.
Yeah, exactly. Now, John, as the unofficial mayor, I know it's not a paid position, but certainly, how long have you lived there now?
Probably 35 years.
Wow. Now, of course, you're a world-renowned artist and people come from all over to be able to have a look at your gallery. We'll show some of that on the telly right now. But what inspires you about where you live in terms of your art?
The outback and the sunsets, sunrises, just the tourists that come through the town. It's a beautiful old town, full of heritage. Well, we are the heritage city, but that's a good place to live.
Does it always amuse you still, even after all of these years, when some idiot like me who hasn't been here before is walking around going, wow, 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 for the first time?
No, because that's what I'm still doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. I love the place that much, mate. It's not funny.
Well, it's that thing. I mean, and the community that's here, you've obviously, we know what some of the big business is, but what are some of the things that this community relies upon council for?
Council really is a spokesman for everyone, so we try to make sure that we upgrade the airport. You talk about housing, we've only got a 0.6% occupancy, so we're always on the government's back to get more housing out here, either affordable or just housing in general, because we have to make sure we've got nurses, teachers, doctors, all the things that city people take for granted. So we love getting you out here, and we love when you say wow, because when you get back, you say wow to everyone you speak to, and that's what brings people out to Broken Hill and Silverton, to the real mayor.
Yeah, I'm not going to shut up about it when we get back. I mean, John, the neighbours obviously that feel like family. We saw Peter before with the camels. Look, as fun as it was in the camels, just talking to her for half an hour was great about her life and about what she's doing.
Yeah.
People like Peter and the business that she runs, it keeps adding to the reasons to come and adding to the reasons to stretch out from the hotel room down the road here.
Exactly. It's more tourists, and everyone loves the camels, and I'm glad that the camels are back, because they were there for like 100 years nearly. All the old families that came through, and then they closed because the old girl died, you know, the old leader, and Mrs. Kennard, and then Peter come along, which was the best thing that could have happened to Silverton.
Yeah, she's got this lovely spirit to her, and honestly, look, I'm giving her as many raps as possible because she's an awesome person. But there'd be awesome people running the pubs, awesome people running the bakeries, awesome people running the cinemas, all the rest of it here. That I would imagine that a place like this as well, it's just got a a lovely way of sort of bashing the bullshit out of people, doesn't it, as well? Where, you know, if somebody comes in with a certain swagger and carrying on, you just get levelled out by normal people, don't you?
Exactly. Just something smart said by someone puts you back in your place. But most people go away from Broken Hill saying it's the friendliest place they've ever been.
Absolutely.
Not only is it wow, 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 no matter where you go, people say g'day to you. Walking up the street, they say g'day. You see how friendly John is. That's how he is out at Silverton. He's not selling Broken Hill as a businessman. He's selling Broken Hill as a proud resident of Silverton and Broken Hill. That's
the thing. I mean, how do you make sure that Broken Hill or Silverton doesn't get forgotten in a media cycle that's obviously about lots of other things, or big tourism spends from, you know, state governments that sort of have tens of millions of dollars say, hey, everyone come to Adelaide because the AFL's on this weekend. How do you keep the word out there?
So it's people like you, people that come to Broken Hill are the best sellers of Broken Hill. We've got the Monday Bash, which brings 10 to 12,000 people to town. They go out and they sell Broken Hill way better than any tourism promotion could ever sell. You don't need governments to sell you. What you need is your people that live in Broken Hill. The people that make your trip to Broken Hill so nice is what sells Broken Hill, and that's why it's so easy being the Mayor of Broken Hill and the Mayor of Silverton. Our job's taking care of us for us.
Do your officers work together? The Mayor and unofficial Mayor, have you got your staff talking to his staff?
Well, these blokes actually work in a special room, like called the bomb shelter.
Yep.
We work in the Silverton pub.
As it should be.
And we always solve our problems out there.
We get threatened occasionally if we think of taking them over.
Yeah.
They try to, but they can't.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Give them a round of applause. These guys are awesome. They represent you. They're amazing. Thank you, John. Thank you so much to you, Tom. Really do appreciate it. Stick there for a second, mate, because I want to tell more about this incredible area. And Janie Seal, who is just one of my favourite people at Sky News, has been able to spend some time in and amongst the community telling even more of their great stories.
Broken Hill has a population of around 17,500 people. Once known as the Silver City, it's known as Australia's oldest mining town. The many tragedies of how miners lost their lives are etched respectfully on the Line of Load Miners Memorial. Spend a few solid hours at the Sulphide Street Railway and Historical Museum and walk away with an abundance of knowledge.
Well, here you are in one of Broken Hill's most historical sites, a place where everyone will learn more about Broken Hill history than anywhere else. We have a transport pavilion, a migrant museum, a hospital museum. Railway, of course, is well and truly represented here. So this is the Silver City Comet. This is one of its carriages. And this is the train that opened up Broken Hill's social life. And we went from here to Sydney from 1937 to 1989. This train ran. So you are now in the hospital annex. The most poignant and interesting parts of the collection is the iron lung, which was used in the Broken Hill Hospital during the polio epidemic. That was actually what they call the artificial lung, that was helping them breathe until they recovered. And there were people that were in this for years and years and years.
The Immigration Museum is also fascinating.
If you understand why they came, it was came to have a better life and to give their children a better life. Cameliers were here very, very early in the piece, and well, they were the first carriers of all kinds in this area. It was a difficult life for them. They had two mosques, and it wasn't an easy life. And I mean, if you read the editorials of the time around the picnic train attack and before that, it was atrocious. Because you have to understand that the White Australia policy was well and truly in vogue then, not just in Broken Hill, the whole of Australia. And they were treated terribly. And yet, you know, many chose to stay forever.
That's me there.
Bobby Shamrose, grandson to one of the first Afghan cameliers in Broken Hill.
So Bob, tell me about this one, 1919. Is that your dad?
Yeah, that's Dad, yeah. He'd be just coming or going somewhere then. I would go and back to Port Augusta, I'd reckon. You see the cart there?
Yep.
And if you look there, you can see skids.
Yeah.
Underneath. The camel was very strong.
Gosh. Who are these people?
That's myself and my brother outside of the mosque. Hadn't changed in all that time. I believe 5 times a day they used to pray. Started in 1889 by a small group of Cavaliers, and it was finished in 1891 by the group of Cavaliers.
Broken Hill is truly special. Every corner you turn, there's a story of history and adventure with lifelong friends, key to our national identity.
Love you, Janie. Your enthusiasm is infectious and I absolutely feel it being here, and look forward to spreading it when we're back on the air in the Man Cave. Now, speaking of the Man Cave, something very special was given to us just before the show, and it is artistic representation of the Miners' Memorial that is here that you just saw Janie talking about. Thank you to Nick and his team for putting it together. It will be front and centre in the Man Cave, so towards the end of next week when we get the truck back, we'll make sure that it's front and centre there in the Man Cave. Also here, I want to say as well to Steve and all the team here at the Broken Hill Pub, this is the best pub in Broken Hill, not just because we're having it here, but they've put so much effort into what it looks like. Now, we're in an outdoor area, but an outdoor area that has been exquisitely designed. As you can see behind us, all of these different pillars, not just things that are holding bits of the roof up, but also are there to represent the different mine shafts in and around the area, and of course the rich mining history of this area. So whenever you get the chance, when you're coming to Broken Hill, we're building the to-do list for you. All the details will be up on our Facebook page tomorrow, but this is the best pub in Broken Hill, all right? Broken Hill Pub, Steve and his team. Now, in a second, we're going to talk about what it's like to live here, especially when times become a little bit tough, about regional mental health. And there's a bloke who's been able to do something that, well, none of us are planning to do, but he was able to do, and that was to swim the English Channel. His story, is he in Speedos? Hopefully not, it's bloody cold. More in a second here from Broken Hill. Thanks to the wonderful people at Harvey Norman. This is Paul Murray Live's Our Town, where once a month we go around the country and celebrate the beautiful people who make us the best place on earth. Now, when you get to Broken Hill, because I know you're coming, I know you're planning right now, I know what you were doing during the break. We've got special technology where I saw what you were Googling away at. Awesome. Well, one of the incredible things here, of course, are all of the official things to do, but also just the natural stuff like the world's best sunsets.
When you first step into Broken Hill, it's mesmerising. The complementary colour combinations of desert red dirt during the day, the pink, orange and red sunsets at night that you could stare at for hours. You can see why it's a hub for Hollywood blockbusters. This is the famous Palace Hotel, where they film parts of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
So 46 rooms of accommodation upstairs here, and of course probably our most famous being the Priscilla Suite, which is where they come and stay in the movie. Bit of a renovation since then, but most people obviously remembering that fantastic scene where they drink the minibar.
Yes, I love it. Shows like the hit drama RFDS are currently shooting the second series in Broken Hill for the 7 Network. Many artists were inspired by the landscape, including Pro Hart, who was born in Broken Hill and remembered as the father of the Australian Outback. For the best milkshakes in Broken Hill, you must head to Bell's Milk Bar.
Bell started in 1892 by a man called Frederick Fenton. He was a confectioner here, and he made the syrups and the cordials, which we still make today. So everything you can buy here at Bell's is handmade. And what you see here today was last renovated in '56. We still use the same recipes that the Bells and Frederick were using back in the early days, so can't tell you what's in it. When people walk through, I see the smile in their faces. I say, does it bring back memories? And you know, some people actually burst into tears because it reignites the memories from their childhood.
That was good. It reminds me of the old days. Cheers.
Cheers.
A 20-minute drive to Silverton is where you'll find mining, history and the shooting location of some blockbuster films. This is the Mad Max 2 Museum.
Quite comprehensive, really. Inside the museum we have smaller props that we use in the film, some of the costume pieces as well from the film. In the display outside we have replica vehicles of the cars from the film, but we also have original vehicles as well, so we were lucky enough to get hold of them. Silverton's a really unique place. I mean, the landscape itself is incredible. It doesn't really matter what direction you're looking, you've got a backdrop for any movie you could want.
Down the road is the Silverton Outback Camels, a perfect way to see the sunset.
It's not every day you get to ride a camel through town. This is beautiful Silverton, the red dirt, the beautiful sunset. This is absolutely magnificent.
A weekly highlight in Broken Hill is karaoke at the Palace Hotel. An incredible place that's full of fun, history and a welcoming community.
And Jamie stayed up way past when the pub was closed. Now, something we talk about a lot when we're back in the man cave, but it means even more when we're in places like Broken Hill, which is to talk about the number of people that do struggle in parts of Australia that often get forgotten by the hashtags and ribbons and the official day for this and the official day for that. And I want to get my numbers right here. But National Farmer Wellbeing Report recently was able to conclude, when they asked people about their own experiences of their feelings, that about 30% of people had attempted self-harm. 45% say at some time they felt depressed, 11% say they're too embarrassed to seek help, and about 15% of people say they're frankly too far away from help. Well, our next two guests are people who bring the help as close as possible. Jacinta and Brendan Cullen are people who are passionate about mental health, passionate about swimming in the English Channel, and passionate about staying warm at all times. Jacinta, lovely to see you, lovely to see you as well. I love Lifeline. I love what Lifeline does. John Brogden is one of my best mates, and he tipped me off that you're a person who's done some incredible things for mental health in regional areas. Tell me about what you did that started here and went all the way around the country.
Yeah, so Lifeline started a program called How's Your Mate, HYM, and it started in Broken Hill, even though we're in South Australia as well. Started right here in town, and it was about men's health. It's also become now a focus around the youth, and it came out of a spike of some suicides in some football clubs, and they came to us and said, what can we do? And so we developed this program to help break down stigmas, do some training.
Because the thing is that mental health and mental health conversations are remarkably easy to have, as complicated as they might feel, as blocked up as some people are. How's your mate? How are you going? Spotting the signs, listening to somebody when they actually are starting to, and paying attention that when somebody starts to pull in. Is that different in a regional area where, generally speaking, people will keep to themselves as a way of being? But is it a little harder to crack to get in there?
I think it can be. I mean, I think as a rule, men are usually a little bit harder as well, wherever you are, whether it's a country
we're dumber.
or the city.
We're dumber blokes.
Us women like to chat and natter, and but I think
I don't believe you. Where's the evidence?
I think men are certainly getting a lot better of it, and programs like this are helping that.
How do you notice it, Brendan, amongst mates? You're a sheep farmer. How do you notice the chats have changed over, say, the past 10 years?
Yeah, look, I've been involved with football clubs and worked out in the bush my whole life. And I think if you are asking someone how you're going, that has a whole different meaning to it now. 20 years ago, it would be just a blow-off statement. But now it means something else. And it makes it a lot easier to be able to have that conversation. And, one of the hardest things you could possibly do is self-diagnose, work out whether you're actually going okay or not. So if you're able to see someone or just have a conversation, it tends to work really well.
Well, I also find too that you can tell if somebody's hurting in lots of different ways, but okay, if they're canning on, don't have the conversation on Friday or Saturday night, call them the next day and not say, hey, about last night, you went too far, but you just start to notice something and surprise, surprise, the follow-up phone call can get there. Now tell me, how does a sheep farmer from this part of the world put on the togs and end up swimming the English Channel?
Yeah, by accident. Yeah, look, I met a wonderful bloke down in Melbourne, Mike Gregory. I did a swim down there. It was an English Channel qualifier. And
look at this, we're just watching you in the near buff as we've got you here. Look at this good-looking fella. Anyway.
And basically our relationship morphed into something quite big. And we decided that it might be an opportunity to have a crack at. And I thought to myself, you know, why not have a go? And I rang him up and said, mate, let's do it. He said, righto. He said, well, I actually said to him, you know, what do you think it'd be like to coach a bloke from afar? And he said, let's do it. So, you know, 3 years down the track, stepped onto the beach in Dover and swam to France.
What was the preparation like from the home perspective when he's starting to get ready for something like that? You're like, cool, let's do it?
Yeah, I was just looking at that footage actually, seeing how dry it was, you know, lucky that it had water at all. We nearly completely ran out. So it was very interesting trying to find water, and wherever we went, every holiday, everything was always revolved around, where's it going to be water? Where's it going to be water?
What's it like training in the Menindee Lakes?
Murky. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't see any more than probably a couple of inches in front of your nose. And I tell the story about swimming in the Kopi Hollow Channel and when it was dry. And I remember taking a breath and a fish swam into my mouth. And,
look at that shot. Have you got that shot blown up in the house? I've got a feeling as soon as you come in the front door, it's like, Jesus, all right, Brendan, put it away, please.
Oh, gee, that was one of the strangest shots I've been.
It's a great photo. It's a great photo. All right, so just finally, again, it's important to check in with friends. It's important to reach out to Lifeline. Remember, you can do that via text if that's your thing. You've obviously got the traditional telephone number, websites as well, but you know there's people in your communities as well. Is that the best way to reach out to Lifeline?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the website. If you're in locally here, come in and you can call the crisis number 13 11 14.
Thank you for what you do. Good on you for what you do. Thank you so much, Jacinda. Thank you, Brendan.
Thanks you.
A lot.
Good on you guys. How good are they? Give them a round of applause. They're awesome. Plenty more here from Broken Hill. See, it's easy being on TV. I can do it. All right. Hang on, no. Who do we have to take a shot off? Come on, there's a family member with the beanie. Get to the photo with the beanie. Who's this? Is this, come on, family member, wave away.
Yep, it's
come
your
on,
birthday.
Jeff. Happy birthday, darling.
Hey!
Happy... No, joking. All right, happy birthday, darling. Plenty more here from Broken Hill in a second. Happy birthday, darling. That's awesome. More in a sec. Welcome back to Broken Hill. Got a funny story to tell you a bit later. Now, way back when, I went to what was then called the University of Western Sydney. Now it's Western Sydney University, and Harvey Norman is working with that university to give people the same opportunity that I had, which was to be the first in your family to make it to that level of tertiary education. Australia's regions, they are the backbone, the heart and soul of this great country. Pretty much everything that makes us proud to be Aussies can be linked right back to the bush or here in the Outback. Courage, grit, tenacity, grace, never giving up. It's all stuff that you find here every day. And sometimes being this far away from the big smoke, it has its costs. The tyranny of distance is very real. Like access to university education. To plug the gap, Harvey Norman and Western Sydney University have teamed up to deliver scholarships.
Western Sydney University is so lucky to have the generous support of Harvey Norman through Jerry Harvey and Katie Page. They support our equity scholarships in giving back to those communities. Students coming from regional areas, really remote areas, having access to these types of scholarships. We know on the whole they go back to those communities, so it's that really strong transformation aspect.
Luke is a perfect example of what we're talking about. He's Indigenous, just graduated, and now ambassador for Western Sydney University. And all that may not have been possible without the Harvey Norman Scholarship.
What really inspired My decision to apply for the scholarship to begin with was in 2017. I was in hospital for 4 months as I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, Behçet's disease, and that really impacted my schooling. Just felt as though I couldn't go to university as I wouldn't have been able to afford it.
Katie continues to generously support Western Sydney University scholarships for people just like Luke to create tertiary education pathways for prospective students from refugee and disadvantaged backgrounds.
All of that has propelled me today to be stood here right now, and I hope to inspire fellow Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and communities.
Meet Emma, a mum of 5, now able to study midwifery thanks to the Harvey Norman Scholarship.
A lot of people still go through life, especially women, being the parent and putting their family first, and then later on in life thinking, what shall I do with myself? I don't have any skills.
For Emma, being able to make uni work without a scholarship was a pipe dream, until a truly incredible email came her way.
All of a sudden, I had an email saying, congratulations, you have got a scholarship. I didn't know if it was real. There was happy tears. It's taken a lot of financial burden as well as the emotional and mental burden away from the stresses of everyday life.
And now Emma is able to set her sights on the future.
I wasn't really educated on things that happen during childbirth, labour, pregnancy, after birth. And I feel that women need to be educated on those things and not left in the dark. And that's what I am aiming for in the future, for me to become a voice for these women.
So next time you walk into a Harvey Norman store, no, it's not just for the great stuff you can buy there. You're supporting a company that supports people by changing their lives. It makes the stuff of dreams become reality for Aussies like Luke, Emma and so many more. Thank you so much to Harvey Norman, and well done to everyone at Western Sydney University. Quick break, back with more. You're about to meet the best little bloke in Broken Hill. Welcome back here to Broken Hill. I said you were going to meet my favourite bloke here. Lucas works with Peter over at the Camels. Lovely to see you, mate. Thanks for showing us around yesterday. You've got a great little job to start off.
Yeah, not bad.
So what do you want to do? You want to be a kid who works with animals when eventually you can do that for a job?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you like most about Broken Hill, Silverton, all of that, this part of Australia?
Oh, the scenery, sunsets.
You play footy? You play much sport?
Yeah, I play footy and basketball.
Oh, what sort of what position do you play in footy?
A bit of everything.
Yeah, this is it. You're an everywhere man. All right, excellent. What's it like working with the Camels? Are they sort of as stubborn as they may seem sometimes?
No, they're pretty good. I like it. It's good.
Who's more stubborn, the Camels or Peter? Peter. She's the best. She's your boss over there. All right, so reach in here. You're about to do the official duties here, thanks to the good people of Top End Meat here in Broken Hill. And the winner is?
CO33.
C33. Congratulations, anyone? Redraw? No, bugger it, redraw. They're not here, bugger them. Go for another one. That's all right, mate. We'll edit all this out when we get to air. We'll be okay. All right, one more time. Let's go. What have we got here? Same number? All right, just grab another one.
C48.
C48. Yeah, okay, somebody won it. Excellent. Congratulations. Thank you so much, mate. Thank you very much. Good luck. You are a wonderful little bloke. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So that's our show from Broken Hill. We are going to be, in just a couple of weeks' time, in Darwin. If you would like to join us on the 2nd of July, send us an email to ourtown@skynews.com.au. Sunday, the 2nd of July. That would mean the night before is cracker night. And if you have never been to the Darwin in July, you've got to get there on the 1st, Territory Day, the one place left in Australia where you can blow stuff up. And we're going to have a firecracker that has got my face on it. It's a lefty dream to blow my face to smithereens. You'll see all of that in Darwin, but right now in Broken Hill, from everyone here at the Broken Hill pub. Thank you very much. Good on you, Broken Hill. We'll see you all again very soon. Here's the Royal Report.